You'll know that AGI is here, not because of what it creates, but because of what we forget how to do. It won't show up in a big announcement. It won't launch. It will simply become easier to let the machine think for you than to sit with your own thoughts. The moment that that becomes normal, AGI will have arrived. And that's the problem. It won't feel like a takeover. It'll feel like a relief, a soft outsourcing of the uncomfortable parts of being human. The pausing before speaking, the wrestling with uncertainty, the remembering of something instead of searching for it. And that's what makes it dangerous, because the cost won't come as a crash. It'll come as a quiet forgetting of how to listen, of how to wait, of how to think before being fed. Every major tool that humans have created started as a lever for efficiency, but eventually changed their identity. The map made travel easier, but also started replacing inner sense of direction. The camera made memory external, but also weakened our need to remember. Social media made connection scalable, but also eroded how we attune to nuance and presence. Tools don't just give us new powers. They slowly atrophy the ones that we no longer use. Think of your mind like a muscle, not one of brute force, but of presence. Every time we let a tool answer a question that we haven't sat with yet, we're letting that muscle soften. Every time we skip stillness for convenience, we trade inner knowing for external completion. And eventually, we forget what it even feels like to wrestle with our own wisdom. It's like forgetting the taste of water because you've only been drinking from flavored bottles. You're still hydrated, but something essential has faded. And now we're entering the next era, where cognition itself can be outsourced, which means the bigger shift won't be in what we can do, it'll be in what we stop doing. Because every new tool comes with a trade, and the trade is rarely obvious at first. At first, it feels like convenience. Then it becomes culture, and eventually it becomes character. That's the timeline we miss, the slow erosion of inner rituals, replaced by external performance. Not because the tools are evil, but because we stop noticing when our hands reach for them instead of our hearts. We are already being trained, subtly, daily, to give up our ability with our own signal. We're trained to check with the chatbot before checking with our intuition, summarize instead of contemplate, automate before we understand. This isn't inherently bad, but it's shaping something subtle. We're outsourcing our edge, our sensitivity, our attention, our ability to sit with uncertainty long enough for clarity to emerge. And when AGI scales, the drift gets faster, the reward loop gets tighter, and the cost becomes invisible until it's already normal. What AGI replaces won't just be labor, it will be inner rituals, sitting with an unsolved idea, letting a question change you, feeling the answer in your body before it's confirmed by the screen. The moment we stop doing these things, we've crossed the line. You might already feel it. The shrinking capacity to sit in silence without reaching for input, the rising anxiety of a blank page, the pull to ask ChatGPT what you could have figured out by feeling it longer. This isn't about purity, it's about pattern. Because every time you skip the pause, you train your system to reach outward before it checks inward. And the self that you stop referencing eventually stops speaking. This is how it begins, not with a takeover, but with forgetting. Not because AGI took over, but because we let go. Let go of stillness, let go of doubt, let go of the sacred friction that lives between question and answer. And when that happens, something ancient inside of you goes quiet. That part that used to wait for the right word, not the fast one. The part that trusted the inner knowing before external data. We lose our edge, not because machines get sharper, but because we stop feeling. And when you lose your sensitivity, you'll still sound smart, but you won't know if it's true. So here's how I'll know that AGI has arrived. When humans stop cultivating inner clarity, because the external answers are instant, available, and seductive. You'll see it in what not AI produces, but in how people lose their ability to think slowly. You'll feel it in the absence of nuance, the flattening of self-reflection, the rise of the right answers instead of lived experience. And maybe most of all, you'll feel it in the silence, not the kind that creates presence, but the kind that signals internal erosion. The absence of tension, the disappearance of doubt, the end of wrestling with the thought long enough for it to evolve you. That's when AGI has arrived. Not because it's smarter than us, but because we stopped practicing the things that made us human. Because the real marker of AGI's arrival won't be measured in code. It'll be measured in attention, in how many people can sit in a room with noticing but a blank page and not flinch, in how many can feel a question without rushing to answer it, in how many can hold complexity, contradiction, and nuance without collapsing into certainty. The end of questioning is the beginning of forgetting, and when we forget how to think for ourselves, we don't lose to AI, we lose to ourselves. So I don't fear AGI, I fear forgetting. I fear what happens when thinking becomes too convenient to be transformational. I fear what happens when the machine finishes the sentence before the self has time to form it. The risk isn't that AGI replaces you. The risk is that you stop cultivating the parts of you that can't be replaced. Presence, curiosity, uncertainty, self-authored wisdom, those don't scale, and they weren't meant to, because humanity isn't about what we produce. It's about how we relate to what we don't know yet. It's in the pause, the breath, the tension between knowing and not knowing that grows us. So the risk isn't just cognitive, it's spiritual, it's existential. Because the moment that we stop forming ourselves is the moment that we become shaped by whatever answers first. AGI won't need to overpower us. It will simply become easier than presence. So if we're entering a world of artificial everything, then the only way forward is through radical, sovereign clarity. Because the more power that we gain externally, the more stillness that we need internally. The arrival of AGI isn't a single moment. It's a slow, collective amnesia. You won't notice it all at once, but one day, you'll try to write from memory, and there will be none. You'll try to decide something, and wait for a tool to tell you what feels right. And then you'll realize the machine isn't the threat, the silence is, the absence of your own inner voice, in the room where your decisions are made. That's the true arrival, not of a new intelligence, but the fading of our own. And that's why clarity has to become more than a system. It has to become a ritual, a practice, a reclaiming, not to fight AGI, but to remain human in the presence of it. You'll know AGI is here, not by what it builds, but by what we stop practicing. Silence, self-reflection, self-direction, thoughtfulness. And if we lose those, we've already lost. But if we remember, if we slow down, if we choose to keep cultivating the parts of us that can't be outsourced, then AGI doesn't have to be the end of something. It can be a mirror, a wake-up, a return, not to simplicity, but to self. Because maybe the real battle isn't human versus machine. It's self versus speed. It's awareness versus autopilot. So when the world gets louder, don't fight the noise. Return to the signal. Write from memory. Decide without polling. Think slowly, even when answers come quickly. That's how we don't just stay human. That's how we evolve on purpose. That's how you'll know AGI is here. But the real question is, will you still be?